previous tutorials, we already talked about the default values, key values, positional arguments, and all of this for functions. I thought we could just take a closer look because all this that we're talking, keyword and default values, they actually exist into a variable name as in double underscore default and double underscore keyword defaults. So let's say we have a function called altogether. In this case here, altogether, and inside that function we have several parameters, like say x, y, and then we have one positional default argument as 1, and then we can have multiple positional arguments, as we already talked about this, and then we have a keyword argument says it's going to be true. And then we have another keyword argument with values 4, and then we can have as many as other variadic arguments that we want. So in this case here, options, whatever options. And then this function here will do absolutely nothing. Okay. And then let's print it out to see what actually is behind the scenes in underscore default and values. So here, default. And then here we can take a look on print KW defaults. And if we go ahead and print that information, of course, we forgot to say which function we're doing this. We're going to do this from altogether here. And the same thing as we have it right here. Okay, and now we're good to go. Now, if we run those guys here, we'll see that what is the positional argument that we have when we call into the default arguments. We have 1, which is the only one with a value for the positional default arguments, and then all the rest, it's pretty much a keyword. I mean, these are the necessary keyword values that we have for our function. So in this case, true and space. Note that the first one, the second one, which is a keyword, they are dictionaries. So that makes sense, this too. And this guy right here, it's 1. So it's in a tuple. Why that? Well, if you remember, when we talk about positional arguments, we were talking about a tuple of arguments. So this guy here is actually a tuple where it's passed in this positional order. Okay. Another cool thing that we can also do is about the when we want to take a look on the documentation of a function. Most of times functions, they come with a specific documentation. So if you have something like this, why it didn't work, okay. So let's say here we have the explanation of a function, right? So this is a function that does, this is a function that do something, What something? You decide. So if you have something like this, and let's just run this again so we can take advantage of this, and then we print the documentation of a function. So let's say here the function is called altogether, and then we call the attribute doc. So we are printing out the documentation of a function, which is this comment right below following the PEP8 configuration here, the standard. So if we do here, we printed out the information about that function. So in case you're using someone's function and you don't know exactly what it does, if that function was properly designed, you can just call the attribute dot underscore doc. So you can see what someone left as a comment for this. Okay, so thank you and happy coding.